This is the warm-up station. Dynamic stretches are generally better. So things where you're moving your arms, swinging your legs. Static stretches are okay, where you stretch and hold, but if you're just doing long static stretches, it tends to, almost like rubber band, it can kind of decrease your performance afterwards. If you're doing static stretches in the beginning and then doing some of this other stuff, that effect will dissipate, so it's actually fine. But I did bring these foam rollers, because one of the nice things about foam rollers is they can give you that same increase in range of motion without the decrease of performance that static stretching can have. So let's say you're feeling tight and you need to jump into a match right away. You could use a foam roller instead of long bouts of stretching. So foam rollers, you can do a number of things. There's the piriformis right here like this. You could roll out your quads like this, kind of use your hands to control how much pressure is on there. But just that sensation actually has a similar effect to stretching. This one's a little harder, it's got the knobs on it. This one's a little softer. So if you've never done foam rolling before, you want to take it easy, you could use this. Exercise bands are a great way to warm up the upper body, get the upper back going. You can do band dislocates like this. This is really light. It's not meant to feel difficult. Just getting blood flowing, full range of motion. Kranga, Mark's favorite backhand guy, he uses these, he swears by these. So you can even kind of step on it and get a bit of a shadow stroke going. Again, this is really light, really light. It's not hard, that's okay. Backhand, all right. There's middle loops here. So if you wanted to put your feet through here, you could do the crab walks or monster walks. This is working hip abduction. So that's good for lateral movement. Again, just warming up. After that, we have pogo jumps. So we're gonna go move over here. Nice soft ground. Pogo jump is another good warm up. What you're actually doing is you don't want to be kind of landing soft like a lot of athletic standing. The whole point of this is to stay stiff. So you're actually building something called stiffness, which is the ability for your muscles and tendons to kind of harden up and transfer force. So for table tennis, if you think of a sponge that's super soft, at higher ends, what happens to that soft sponge? It bottoms out. It's actually not as fast as the harder sponges. So what you're doing is keeping the legs relatively stiff and just little bounces. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, there's some Bushmen in Africa who do this as like a bragging rights thing, and you'll see them pop up super high. So you can actually make this a little more intensive, but for a low level warm up, as an extensive plyometric, is really good. And one cue is toes up. So you're not like landing on your toes, collapsing down with a lot of movement. You're stiffening up. As soon as you go up, think toes up in the air. So that's dorsiflexion. Boom. And you notice, watch the pros play. They're very bouncy. They're always bouncing around. This builds those springs. So only jump as high. If you have shin splints or something, take it easy on this, because you will feel that impact, but that's a good option. Now moving over here. Here we have the fake throw with the shuffle. So the point of this ball's a little heavier than I would have liked. I thought I had an 8-pounder, but it's 10. The point of this is to train anti-rotation. So you're building your core strength and its ability to resist rotating. So you're actually not twisting with it. So you're gonna shuffle and throw the ball out to the side, but stop it. Like this. Don't let the ball drift out past your body. Don't let your torso twist. And what that does is you'll feel your abs crunch down really hard. That helps you build tension. So it's like, boom, boom. So if you want to give it a shot.
Keep it tight?
Yeah, keep it tight. Shuffle, there you go. And you should feel your core tensing up when you do that. He's staying square. Perfect. And what that does is, when you hit your shots in table tennis, I was just telling them before we started, Timo Boll has a video on this where he talks about to hit a harder forehand, one of the most important things you can do is keep a tense core. There is an importance to staying relaxed throughout the shot, but you actually want your core to tense up. Your arm can stay relaxed, but that's what's going to give you that power. So we're getting power from the ground up. Your torso, your core is kind of like the conduit that's going to pass that power up through to your upper body. So that's the fake throw with the shuffle. If you find this is a little heavy, don't worry about it. You could just do a shuffle and kind of do it with the air just to get a feel for the motion. Closer to the body keeps it easier. If you bring it out a little bit, it's a lot harder. So there's another way to progress or regress it. For the ladder drill, people use the ladder. You can waste a lot of time on this if you're doing a lot of kind of things where you're just staying in place, moving your feet really fast, and you're way up on your toes. Because we don't actually move that way in table tennis. And you're also looking down a lot, which again, we don't do. So I like drills that have you moving a little bit more laterally in and out. And one thing you can use this to practice your crossover footwork is with the drill. So this is the cross and stick. Stand kind of maybe a little bit this way. You're going to lean in here, cross over, step in, stick. Very simple. So you don't have to worry like about a super complicated footwork pattern.
You going for speed here, or are you just going for?
More about control, balance, and just feeling that crossover footwork, boom, like that. So if you want to give that a try, see how it feels. Yeah, in table tennis, we use the crossover step when the ball is out of reach. You're not going to be able to shuffle sideways quickly enough. You really got to run out for it. That's when you're going to use the crossover step. And that's something that if you really want to incorporate it in your game, you're going to need to practice with a ball. But as a first step, kind of like the floor that sits on top of, you can start to get a feel for that motion just by using the ladder. So that's one you could do. There's a million variations. If you know one off the top of your head that you're comfortable with, you can just run through it with that'd be fine. There's icky shuffle, there's skiers, where you're kind of going like this. That's like a slalom pattern. So that's the ladder drill. Here we have the rotary scoop toss. This one is kind of like a good counterpart to the fake throw, where the fake throw is anti-rotation. This is actually training rotation. So you kind of take a stance like you would for a forehand shot. I'm a lefty, so I'll start here. But if you're right-handed, maybe you want to start that way. And if you have a masonry wall at your gym, you can slam it against the wall, catch the rebound, and do it that way. For here, we'll use a partner for the catch. So you go here, and then the idea here is power from the ground, rotating, and then toss out. Sorry. And you can have your partner throw it right back to you. Don't worry about doing it really fast and fluid. Just get a feel for the timing and making sure the arms are just delivering the ball. So I'm not chucking the ball, right? I'm turning at the hips, loading this leg, loading this glute, and the arms. And again, you should feel a similar activation in your core like we did with the fake throw. And that trains rotational power. So power is plane specific. So if you do all your jumping up and down, like a volleyball player or a basketball player, you're developing force going up. You need, as table tennis players, badminton, pickleball, we're moving this way, that way, we're moving force this way, so you gotta train in the right plane.
Kevin, just so everybody knows, none of these walls are masonry walls.
Yeah, don't.
The ball will go through.
It will go right through the wall, so don't, yeah. So yeah, and this is a 6-pound ball, by the way. I don't even, maybe if you're like 200 pounds, real muscular guy, you might use an 8 or a 10 pounder, but it doesn't take a lot. This is just a 6-pound ball, and it really trains that peak velocity. It's a ballistic throw where you're actually accelerating through the whole motion. That's what makes it so effective, because that's exactly what you do in table tennis. You're trying to hit through the ball, accelerate through the whole range of motion, and that trains that. Next we have is the band resisted broad jump. Broad jump, again, this is working on that horizontal force development. We're hitting all those planes. We're going lateral, rotational, horizontal. The band helps you, it requires you to produce more force. So you want to step forward so you have some tension on the band. And this is pulling me back, so I have to have a stronger hip action to accelerate through and jump. So I can show you here like this. Sit back, throw the arms forward, land athletic. And then don't jump backwards, just walk back. Because the band's pulling you, jump backwards, you're gonna go flying. So the nice thing about the band is this actually seems a little more hardcore per se, but what the band actually does is it decelerates you in the air, so it's softer on the joints. A lot of athletes in season, when they don't want to get all beat up, but they don't want to lose their power, will use banded jumps, because while you're in the air, it slows you down, softens the landing. So you're not getting a huge force through your joints, but you're still developing the power.
How important is it where you start the jump? So
not super important. I mean, don't put steps so far out that you're falling backwards and you can't resist, but enough to where there's some tension. Like if you're too close, you've got too much play in it. So that's that one. Then I actually have, if you want to bring your paddle, you can skip this one if you feel fine, but I wanted to put this here just as a something to put on your radar, because sometimes people train at home, maybe you have a table at home. One important thing with these types of movements are, we're not trying to exhaust you. You shouldn't feel wiped out. If I wanted to do that, I'd just have you do burpees or run suicides. So rest periods are important. You have to be able to put in maximal intent and effort. That's the only way you're gonna build speed and power. It's not like aerobic conditioning where you wanna feel tired. So you can use something like serve practice as an active rest period. So this isn't really gonna tire you out. You could practice a couple serves, and what this is allowing you to do is let your legs recover before you move on to the next drill. So you might get a bucket of some balls. If you wanna have your racket, practice a couple serves, catch your breath, and then move on to the next section, that'd be fine. The other thing I like is if you're a little out of breath, like I am just from having a talk and exercise. One thing, people who practice serves, sometimes you might just practice serves at the beginning, or you practice them as its own session, and you're never actually practicing serves while you're feeling a little amped up or out of breath or tired. So this is a good way, like, get your breathing, calm down, pre-performance ritual, like do your normal serve thing, and then do your serve. See if you can keep it tight. See if you can get double, triple bounce. All right, so it's another way to kind of build in some specificity to this workout. Next up over here, we have the ball drop and catch. This is linear acceleration, and we have a reactive component in here. Pretty simple. So what you're gonna do is, ideally when you go through here, you'll pair up with someone. I can float around and pair up with people as needed if you need someone. I'm just gonna drop this, take a ready position stance, and you try to catch it before it bounces twice.
ready.
Okay, so if you try it and you're like, oh, that's way out of reach, like you don't have to stand here necessarily. You can move closer, and like let's say you don't want to go out into a sprint. You feel like I'm not ready for that. You can you just start it close, make it easy. But what you're doing is you're training that reactivity. And that's actually a huge component of agility. You need to have the speed, but also the perceptual component where you're reacting to a stimulus from the environment, okay? So this is great for table tennis players. You know, you get pushed back. I'm in this situation constantly. Mark drop shots me.
Again? Can you do that one again now?
Sure. All right, let me get a little, ready? So I'm not gonna tell them, and you don't wanna throw it up because that's too much of a cue. You're just gonna drop it. Yeah, so even if you just touch it, that's fine. The whole point is that first step. So, you know, a lot of times athletes will train this from the sprint position. For table tennis, I like training it from the ready position because in a game, that's where you're gonna be. Someone drop shots it, and you've gotta go and get the ball. And you might notice that you kinda take a step back first and then go. That's fine, it's called a drop step. That's actually your body repositioning itself for a better push-off angle to go get that. So don't focus on that too much. So that's a linear acceleration drill. Works on that first step speed. Finally, we have this. This is the lateral speed test. This is something the Chinese national team uses. I think it was Sun Yingxia. I saw doing this drill, and this is a really good test of lateral speed. And what you're going to do is, it's called a chasse step, where it's a little out of reach on both sides. You're going to shuffle, and your feet kind of move together, touch this side, and you're going to use your playing hand to touch both sides. So backhand, touch, come here, boom, and you just want to go back and forth as fast as you can, 10 total touches. Some things to look out for are, you're going to bob up and down a little bit, but you don't want to be like this. That's wasting a lot of time. It's not efficient. So a cue I like is stay in the tunnel, which is a good cue in general. You want to kind of imagine like you're going to hit your head if you're going up and down. You're staying in the tunnel, and then try to get a good plant position. You'll notice as you're going faster, your foot might be turned out, which is going to be a little less efficient. So you can do it slow and kind of boom, 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 but your foot oriented this way is going to give you the best push-off angle to move this way quickly. So again, you don't have to go all out and go crazy 110% trying to get as fast as you can. You can just practice it. But as you get more comfortable with something like this, that is a really good way to develop lateral speed and quickness. So those are all the movements. You can run through with a partner. You could just end it here and be like, okay, maybe I learned 1 or 2 things. I'm ready to go play.